everyone! Welcome to my channel. My name is Cahanap. Good morning! Mayong buntag, magandang buhay. In today's video, I am going to share my green card experience at the USCIS, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, USA. So if you are new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell in order that you will not miss anything if I will upload video. So I have a copy in order that I will not miss anything. So my interview happened last February 18, 2020, Tuesday, 9 a.m. We left at the house around 8 a.m. and then we arrived at the USCIS parking lot 8:20, and then we went to the entrance of the building. So there was a security gate and metal detector. So the first thing that the security asked was my letter of appointment and my ID. And he also asked the ID of my husband. And I showed him my letter of appointment and my passport and also the driver's license of my husband. So after that, we have to remove our shoes and put in the conveyor and pass through the metal detector, and then we proceed to the receptionist. So the receptionist asked my appointment letter and also my passport. And he told us our interview is 9 a.m. So he did something in the computer and he told us to proceed in the waiting area. So in the waiting area, there were a bunch of people lining up. And when my turn comes, the officer asked me my passport again, and there is a fingerprint machine. So you're going to put your index finger in the machine, and then in my case, it takes 2 minutes because my index finger is kind of wet. So I rub my index finger in my dress. So after that, after the fingerprinting, the officer told us to take a seat and wait when our number will be called. So we sat in the lobby for about 25 minutes and there was a lady called my name. We stood up and the lady guided us to went to her office. And after that, she told us to take a seat, and then she looked up to her computer for a few minutes and she asked us to stand up to make a promise or to make a sworn to answer the question honestly. And you have to say, I. After that, we sat down and she said, "What do you bring?" So I showed her my passport, the driver's license of my husband, our marriage certificate, the birth certificate of my daughter, our joint bank account, the electric bill with my name in the account. So after that, she did something in the computer and she returned back to us and the interview started. So it was like a closed and open question that you need to answer yes or no. First, she asked my full name, my date of birth, my place of birth, and also she asked the date of birth of my husband, the full name of my husband, and the name also, what's the name of my daughter, the full name of my daughter. And she also asked, how do we meet? How do I meet my husband? She asked the love story, our love story. So I answer her all the question correctly. So then she asked the form, about the form I-485, the part 8, the general eligibility and inadmissibility grounds. So I have the form, so I will read all the questions. So it's in part 8. It's in part 8, the I-485 form. So you have to study the Part 8, the general admissibility and eligibility grounds. So it's very important. She asked all the questions. So these are all the questions. So after that, she asked me about the I-485, the Part 8, the general eligibility and admissibility grounds. So you have to study the Part 8 in Form I-485. So these are the questions. So she asked me, have you ever been denied admission to the United States? I said no. Have you ever been denied a visa to the United States? I said no. Have you ever worked in the United States without authorization? I said no. Have you ever violated the terms or condition of your non-immigrant status? I said no. Are you presently or have you ever been in removal, exclusion, rescission, or deportation proceedings? I said no. Have you ever been issued a final order of exclusion, deportation, or removal? I said no. Have you ever had a prior final order of deportation or removal reinstated? I said no. Have you ever held a lawful permanent resident status which was later rescinded? I said no. Have you ever been granted voluntary departure by an immigration officer or an immigration judge but failed to depart within allotted time? I said no. Have you ever applied for any kind of relief or protection from removal, exclusion, or deportation? I said no. Have you ever been a non-immigrant exchange visitor who was subject to the 2-year foreign residence requirement? I said no. Have you ever been arrested, cited, charged, or detained for any reason by any law enforcement official, including but not limited to any U.S. immigration official or any official of the United States Armed Forces or U.S. Coast Guard? I said no. Have you ever committed a crime of any kind, or even if you were not arrested, cited, charged with, or tried for that crime? I said no. Have you ever pleaded guilty to or been convicted of a crime or offense, even if the violation was subsequently expunged or sealed by a court, or if you were granted a pardon, amnesty, a rehabilitation decree, or other act of clemency? I said no. Have you ever been ordered, punished by a judge, or had condition imposed on that you restrain your liberty, arrest, parole, alternative sentencing, drug or alcohol treatment, rehabilitative programs or classes, probation, or community service? I said no. Have you ever been a defendant or the accused in the criminal proceeding, including pretrial diversion, deferred prosecution, deferred adjudication, or any withheld adjudication? I said no. Have you ever violated or attempted or conspired violate or any controlled substance law or regulation of the state, or in the United States, or in a foreign country? I said no. Have you ever been convicted of 2 or more offenses for which the combined sentences for confinement were 5 years or more? I said no. Have you ever illicitly or illegally trafficked or benefited from the trafficking of any controlled substances such as chemicals, illegal drugs, or narcotics? I said no. Have you ever knowingly aided, abetted, assisted, conspired, or colluded in the illicit trafficking of any illegal, narcotic, or other controlled substances? I said no. And she asked also, have you ever engaged in prostitution, or are you coming to the United States to engage in prostitution? I said no. Have you ever directly or indirectly procured or attempted to procure or imported prostitutes or person for the purpose of prostitution? I said no. Have you ever received any proceeds or money from the prostitution? I said no. Do you intend to engage in illegal gambling or any other form of commercial vice such as prostitution, battle gigging, or the sale of child pornography while in the United States? I said no. Have you ever exercised immunity or diplomatic or otherwise to avoid being persecuted for a criminal offense in the United States? I said no. And yeah, that's it, guys. So you have to study the form I-485 part 8. So, and she said, after that, she said, that's it. We will review your documents and just wait for 3 days and you can update your status online. So after that, we said thank you, ma'am, and she guided us into the exit room. So my tips for you guys, those who file the green card, please ask more, know more your spouse, ask more questions from him, his personal life. So, and also do not bring food in the building because it's not allowed. And please study the forms that you filled up because they're gonna ask that during the interview. So what you filled up in the form, so you have to study that because they're gonna ask you. That's it, guys. After she asked all those questions, she said, okay, you can go home. Just wait for 4 days. You can update your status online. And we said, thank you very much, ma'am. And she guided us in the exit room. So after 4 days, we check our status online. So we're so happy that we're approved. So we're so blessed. So my tip for you guys is that let the interviewer finish the questions and answer honestly. If you don't know the answer, so you can say, I apologize, I forgot, or just be honest. And also, do not bring food because it's not allowed in the building. So, I hope you learned something in this video, guys. So, I will upload video anytime so soon regarding the green card requirements. So, just keep updated. So, that's for now, guys. So, see you next time. God bless us all. Thank you.